so I'll just let anybody else in afterwards so that we're not holding up people that have already come online. Is that all right?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, right. First of all, I would like to welcome Rebecca. Rebecca, you connected with me a while ago, didn't you? Via Instagram it was. And, it's telling me to join this meeting. Oh, for goodness sake. Hang on, I'm going to ignore that. Okay. And we connected over Instagram, and then we did like a chat, didn't we? A chat Zoom, and immediately we sort of got on. And one thing that I've learned this year so far, even though we're only 2 weeks in, is anybody that I work with this year, I've got to have to get on with them. Yes. That's so important, really important, particularly as you get older, I think, because we don't really want to. Anyway, I'm digressing. So, Rebecca, do you want to, first of all, tell us your background and give us a little insight into who you are?
Yeah, thanks so much for having me, ladies, and thanks also for giving up your evenings of Emmerdale and whatever you'd normally be watching right now. I really appreciate you giving us this time and supporting Sarah and her amazing business as well. So yeah, we connected because I have a health clinic and I also have a wellness clinic, and it's all umbrellaed under one roof. But I've been a nurse for the last 20 years now, showing my age now, 41, and I have always had a passion in helping women like feel better, look better. Now my career didn't start like that. I started in A&E and I was also a paediatric nurse for a long time, but I suffered tremendously when I was younger with skin problems and was always looking for fixes and always at the doctors with prescription retinoids, and just had really, really terrible skin as I was growing up. And actually, as I grew older, I realized how much of an influence our food plays on our mood and our health and our skin. So fast forward, after that I did my nursing career, and then I went into the aesthetics world and skincare world, and I really wanted to set up my own clinic but also incorporate the wellness side so that I could help people with skin conditions. And also that then led into menopause as well, through my mum actually going through menopause, who followed our 30 days to healthy living plan, which was taking out gluten and dairy. So we remove the gluten and dairy out of your diet for 30 days and then we reintroduce it after 30 and see if it was an effect. And she had incredible results with her night sweats reducing, I'm not going to say stopping, they reduced massively. She still sometimes gets them. And all her symptoms of achy joints really cleared up. Her mood, her skin was better because she was getting like adult acne. You know, she was nearly 60 and started to get really bad acne. So all these kind of ailments that she came to me with in my clinic was like, look, I've got this going on. I've been to the doctors. I'm not sure about HRT. And, I'm not going to talk about HRT on here. That's personal to every individual woman. I really feel that. I'm really pro whatever anybody chooses with that route. But then she started sending me her friends, and then we started advertising it on our Instagram, and it just really kind of took off. And we saw a huge increase in mostly the happiness and energy really with women. And that's when I came across Sarah's page and I saw her on LinkedIn, and I just thought, I must talk to this lady because she might be able to give me some ideas for my clinic, and she's an absolute expert. And I thought, well, just have a connection and have a chat online, and we're just literally singing from the same song sheet. So I sent Sarah some products, which I think she's enjoyed because she's put it on her Instagram, given her loads of energy and making her feel better. So she's like, you must come on, have a chat with my ladies and talk to them about what you're doing. And I really want to kind of give you the science and really the kind of the nursing side and the medical side as to why gluten and dairy has a huge impact on your health. For, if you're trying to lose weight, if you want to reduce the sweats, if you want to just feel more energized and generally feel more confident and good about yourself. That's where a place that I'm coming from. There are products that I'm going to touch on and discuss, but this is not a sales call. This is not to make you buy products. Reach out to me after this call and say, hey, actually, can you give me some more information on that? That's not what this is, an educational evening. So please don't feel like it's, oh God, I've got to get my wallet out like an Avon party and buy some products at the end. It's nothing like that. I do lots of these talks, and my big goal really here tonight is just to educate you guys. And if you take anything from it, then it's going to be a positive evening. And if you do want to progress further and have a consultation with me, that's free of charge as well. I don't charge for women's consultations. We do those online and on Zoom as well. So you can reach out to me after that. So how many of you, and there's a little chat box, by the way, that I don't know if any of you have used Zoom before. There's like a chat box that you've got at the bottom, so you can put questions in there. If you get from halfway through a sentence and you just think of something, just stick it in there. Or if you just want to say hi, let us know where you come from, like stick your name in there as well. It's always nice to know where you come from.
Rebecca, can I ask you? You're talking about taking dairy and gluten out of your diet.
Yeah.
I've been doing a lot of studies recently because you know that I also have an autoimmune disorder. We'll have a couple of them. And I know that dairy is an inflammatory, isn't it? And it can create a whole host of problems, you know, gut health being one of them. And when you have an autoimmune disorder, you can have small holes in your intestines.
Yes.
That's right, isn't it? Yeah.
100%. And I really want to cover that tonight in detail.
Yeah. But obviously, you know, to take out gluten and dairy at the same time, it's quite difficult. I mean, I was going down the road of doing dairy, gluten and alcohol all at the same time. And what I've actually decided to do is to focus more on the dairy, because there's gluten in everything, isn't there? You know, even like tomato.
A lot of people think that, and that's why I love doing these talks, to kind of get rid of those fears of taking something out of their diet, rather than thinking of taking it out. What can we replace it with? Like, what alternatives are there that we can use? And 10 years ago when I went gluten-free, a Tesco's shopping aisle was like one or two things. Now they've got their whole aisle dedicated to that. So I'm going to go into detail about that tonight. Is that all right to do that? And I can really dive into that. So ladies, a common phrase that you'll probably hear is "you are what you eat." We hear that all the time. It's on television adverts. But to be a bit more applicable with that, when it comes to your mind and your body and your skin, everything is connected. So often your skin and how you look is going to affect how your energy and how you feel. And that reflects kind of the foods that we're eating as well, which are fermenting our gut, perhaps, not always. I'm going to talk about that tonight. Sometimes dairy and gluten isn't your trigger. But before we dive into any food chat and gut health talk, I want to just really quickly touch on, especially with menopausal women, is the weight gain and exercise. So this is a really common symptom of menopause that I see, is that people often don't have time to exercise. They're either busy or they're too fatigued and tired to exercise. A lot of people that I see have achy joints, so they feel that they don't want to go to the gym, or they're too embarrassed to go to the gym. So what we call it is just weight-bearing exercise. And how I like to put that in simple terms is your feet on the ground. So that can be as simple as 5,000 steps, or even take it down to 3,000 steps a day. Don't set some massive 10,000 steps goal where you feel like, oh, I'm never going to hit that every day because I'm busy at work and it's dark when I get home. You're probably walking around at work all the time anyway. And if you don't have a fancy watch, you can do it on phones now. Or just to be a little bit more active, maybe walk in your lunch break for 10 minutes, or when you come home, do that walk. Even if it's dark, stick a coat on, just not anywhere dangerous, by the way, but somewhere safe, and just go for a walk for 10 minutes and start to build up that way. This is going to help your bone mass massively as well. I'm going to touch a little bit about bones tonight as well. The second part is digestion. So as we all get older, our digestion really starts to weaken. So we need a lot more calcium and magnesium, especially for healthy bones in our body. So quite often our stomach really does become a lot weaker as we get older. And that's because we produce a lot less acid in our tummies. So we need some good acid in our tummies, like enzymes and good bacteria, because this actually helps to break down and make the body more accessible to actually driving in and grabbing the calcium and magnesium from your diet as well. So if we've got a poor diet and we're not exercising and we're not getting all those, you know, those good enzymes in our tummy are not there, sometimes that's when we can start to see the health conditions coming in even more as well. So we want to get the right balance of good fats, good proteins, good carbs, and we are not eliminating any of those. So when I'm talking tonight about taking dairy and I'm taking gluten out, this is for 30 days that we do this. You don't, some people get to the end of the 30 and actually, you know, I don't really have any symptoms from dairy. It hasn't really bothered me that much. They'll reintroduce it and it's not a problem for them. Some people, which I will talk about why, see a tremendous difference, and you'll only know if you try it. And there's no cost in that. You can do that for free. But the other part is stress as well. So a lot of women that I see with menopause go through a lot of stress. So stress with how they're feeling all of the time, stress with everything going on around them anyway, just general day-to-day life. But stress actually creates more acidic chemicals in your tummy as well. These acidic chemicals can then affect your bone mass as well. So what we can do as individuals, is actually really start to look at our bones from this kind of particular time in your life. The first place to look at is a good diet. And what I mean by good diet is, I'm not saying you have to take cakes out. I'm not saying you have to take alcohol out forever. Absolutely not. Everything in moderation. If you follow me on Instagram, Sarah knows I'm 80-20. I'm all about having a healthy, balanced lifestyle. And that, right, cake? have glasses of wine, still have it all. But we really want to start looking more at the green leafy vegetables, the fruits and things like that. Not so much the sugary fruits, but more the green fruits. You're actually going to get more calcium from green leafy veg than you will a glass of milk, which really surprises some people. So go and look up the calcium content of broccoli. It's actually higher than a glass of milk. So I was always brought up in the era of a glass of milk a day. You know, every day at school we had a glass of milk. So I was always, you know, grew up thinking, even into my early nursing career, that actually milk was really good for our bones. But actually, as you get older and if you start studying this, you realize we actually get more from our good fruit and veg. So the biggest food sensitivities that we see in the medical industry, and even when I was a nurse working in A&E, the kids that were coming in with the worst eczema, the worst asthma attacks, the first things I would always hear all of the GPs and dermatologists and specialists say was take dairy out. That was something I heard all the time as a nurse. And I always used to think, why? And I went away and actually studied this as to why we should be taking the dairy out. And some women can be completely intolerant to dairy. You've got a real sort of sliding scale of complete intolerance, like celiac, and then you've got a sensitivity to gluten and dairy right at the other end of the scale. So one of the symptoms that comes with the menopause, and one thing we see increase massively, is women becoming completely intolerant to dairy and gluten. And that happened to my mum. And women find that generally in the early stages of their menopause, and it can get worse. So if you've had symptoms like this previously of the bloating, and I'm going to go through the symptoms in a sec, then they will get worse as you go through the menopause. A lot of women find that. So it's not something that will happen overnight that you can fix. It does take time to clear these gluten and dairy products out of your diet. It doesn't take long, and I'm going to talk to you about how easy we do that in a second. But why menopause can make you intolerant to dairy to gluten, sorry, in the first place, is the reason it happens. It's to do with the menopausing effects on your digestive system. So going back to that kind of gut tract area, and our digestion becomes less efficient at breaking down your food. So think about all these little enzymes in your tummy, a bit like Pac-Man. And through the menopause, we don't actually have as many of those in our tummies. So this is known as something called leaky gut syndrome. So if any of you ever heard of that, you're not breaking your food down properly. So these kind of larger particles, the undigested food, is sitting and fermenting in your gut, and then it's sat in the digestive tract. And then your immune system will actually trigger an allergic reaction to all the food that is sat in your gut, and then areas of it just leak out, where the name leaky gut comes from. So we know that the time it takes for you to eat your food until it actually eliminates out of your bowels is a lot longer as well. So think of it like being on the M25 or wherever your nearest motorway is, ladies, where you live, and there's a backlog of lorries just all broken down and like nothing is moving. This is basically what it's like in your gut when it's fermenting and it's loaded. So if the digestive tract itself becomes inflamed or more sensitive, then the food being in there for a lot longer can start to irritate the hell out of the gut wall. So just imagine all those cars in a traffic jam, imagine them being in a tunnel and all the fumes around it. Like imagine how stinky and smelly that would be. That's basically what's happening in your gut. So there's like this backlog. And another sign when we're seeing these gut health problems is that you can have either constipation or diarrhea. Sorry to talk about number twos on here, but it's quite important. But when you've got this backlog of food inside your gut, what happens is you either obviously go quite quickly, but then there's still some left behind, and then you're taking a lot longer to go, so hence the constipation. So it can be a mix of one day it's really hard to go and the next it's like flying out of you. So we want to rebalance the microbiome in the gut. That's really key. Now, the signs of a gluten intolerance, one of the main signs, the classic one, is just the bloating of the belly. That's what I get anyway. I get terrible bloating in my tummy area, and you might get up in the morning and you can zip up your trousers or zip up your skirt and you feel like it's a bit tight, but it's okay. And then by the evening you feel like you have expanded so much you can't wait to get your clothes off when you get home from work, or you can't, even if you're just around the house, you're just really very uncomfortable. Another kind of symptom is that your moods are literally like this, up and down. I mean, they can be with menopause anyway because of the hormones, but this is a massive gluten thing as well. So the other kind of side effects, I suppose that you would call it, that we see with gluten intolerances as well, is that brain fog. You literally just, like, you can't concentrate. And this is one of the massive things that I talk to my customers about. They're like, I just feel so clear-headed, I feel so good. That is the supplements I think we give them as well, but that kind of really great feeling. And something else that comes back, a lot of ladies say, is they're less windy. So that's something I've learned through customers. They say they get very gassy, and some of you are laughing, very gassy and windy, and you can, you expel a much more gas than normal, and much louder than normal is what my mum told me. But you can feel quite fatigued as well with this, and that again is that backlog in your gut. So we want the tummy, we want the gut, we want it all kind of the elimination process, the food's coming in and going out, to be really, really kind of smooth. Within like 24 to 48 hours, your food should be coming in and going out nicely, not clogging up the gut. So food intolerances, again, can always trigger that foggy brain, and that can make you feel stressed as well. When we go back to that stress that we talked about at the start, anything where your body is going into stress, you're releasing hormones that actually will make you store fat. So not that many people know this, but the hormones that we get sort of the fat that we get around our back and the excess weight around our middle, that is caused from a hormone that's being released and secreted into your blood, which makes your body hold on and store fat because it thinks you're in stress mode. What we want your body to be producing, and what we want it to be having more of, is something called serotonin. So serotonin is your happy hormone. We get it when we eat chocolate, we have sex, we go out, we have fun with our friends, when we're generally, and also when your body is in equilibrium, when your gut health is in a pH of like normal 5.5 to 6, you are producing serotonin every day naturally. Exercise will give you it. You want to be producing serotonin and like waking up thinking, I just feel good. And that's when your gut is in the perfect alignment. So one more thing just to be mindful of as well, if you are sensitive to gluten, then a really good thing to do, or if you're not sure that you are, or if you're like, actually I don't know if I get any of these symptoms, the only way to know is to keep a food diary for the next couple of weeks and write down what you're eating. Be really truthful, be really honest with what you're eating. It's a good time after Christmas because we're not being so naughty, but put anything that you're eating and drinking, even sauces can have some gluten in as well. And the last one I haven't mentioned as well, which I forgot, is the cramps in the stomach. So that's the severe end of the scale, which is where my mum was. She actually got diagnosed celiac at the same time. So she was getting really bad cramps in her tummy. So the probiotics that we use for that help to kind of eat up all the rubbish in your gut. And that really helps to kind of really kind of clear out the gut as well. So foods that you're probably thinking, well, what's she on about? What contains gluten? Even things like wheat, barley, rye, some oats will contain, I always go for the gluten-free oats. Most oats are actually gluten-free, but some companies put like berries and all sorts of other things in there. So you have to be really careful when you buy oats now. These fancy packets in the supermarket, they have sometimes got gluten in them as well. But other really obvious ones are like bread, pasta, pizza bases, biscuits, cakes, tortilla chips, breakfast cereals, even some fruit bars and energy bars. Every single thing I've mentioned is an alternative. So every pasta range now has a gluten-free pasta, whichever pasta you like. Pizza bases you can get. You can even go out for pizza now and have pizza that's gluten-free. Biscuits, cakes. Once you start going on the gluten-free journey, your eyes will be open to where it is, even in sauces and things. And that's the real trouble. It's in tin soups. It's in some tomato ketchup. Some brands have put gluten in there. So I've got a young baby, he's 2, and it's sometimes it's in his baby food. I'm like so surprised, and it's not a part of our diet that we really need to have in there. And alcohol as well, such as beer, will always have gluten in there as well. So lastly, let's look at dairy. This is something I'm hugely passionate about. So if you follow me on socials, I talk about taking out dairy all of the time, only because it's helped me with my health. But anybody that I come to see in my clinic, I talk to them massively about this. Now, you might love milk, you might have milk in your diet, it might not bring you any of these health problems. And I always say, if nothing's bringing you a problem, keep it in your diet. What's the point in changing it? It's only if you're getting symptoms like snotty noses, if you've got weight gain, if your mood is up and down, if you're maybe lethargic sometimes, if you're getting spotty outbreaks along your jaw and on your back and across the top of your forehead. That's your key zones with dairy. So You'll love this, Sarah, if you like studies. So there was a study that was released. I just read it the other day. It's in the journal, the North American Menopausal Society, on the 20th of August, I think it was released. And it showed that menopausal women who were drinking milk. I think there was like 2,000 participants they had. So they had half of them drink milk and half of them, and it was over 10 years they did this study. And there was no difference in them there was a huge difference in those who weren't drinking milk, had less broken bones, and their bone density was a lot better than those who were drinking dairy. So it's really interesting studies. So it's really flipping the industry on its head, with people thinking that we need milk for calcium. Yeah, it's so interesting reading that. A lot of people think, as I mentioned at the start, we think we need that milk for the bone health, but actually go and have a look at your green leafy veg. If you've got the app, what's the tracker app that I use for my food?
MyFitnessPal.
Yeah,
MyFitnessPal.
Literally, you put any veg in there and it will tell you. So if you don't like broccoli, you can find another green that's suitable for you.
Yeah.
So, if we had a cow in our own field, like outside, and we were drinking milk straight from the cow, for a lot of people that would be okay, wouldn't be irritating the gut. But this process called homogenization, which is where raw milk is pushed through an automatizer, and it forms these little particles, and then they put it through this chemical rinsing process. That is often what is causing so many problems in our healthcare system today. So dairy is not bad for digestion for everybody. However, many people are sensitive to it, and they just have a really hard time breaking the casein, which is a part of the dairy, down into a milk protein. So when you've got trouble breaking that down in your body, that's when you're going to see bloating, you're going to see gas, constipation, inflammation, and the key area that I see it on women is under the eyes here. So that puffiness under here, and a stuffy blocked nose. Now, I'm not saying like that scale again, I'm not saying you're allergic to dairy, you might just be intolerant to it. And how you track this, and how I know, is I always get spots when I eat dairy, or if I lay down in bed at night, and a lot of women report this back, they get this snuffily blocked nose, or they commonly get coughs and colds all the time, and that's because it's mucus forming. So like the traffic jam I talked about, 1 glass of dairy that you have, 1 glass of milk or some cheese, takes about 8 weeks to get out of your gut, and it just sits there and it ferments in your gut. So about 8 weeks before that can actually clear out. So how do we go gluten and dairy free? How do we do it safely? Like Sarah said, some of you might just want to do one thing at a time, and it's perfectly fine to do that. But how do you unblock the drain, so to speak? So firstly, you want to start by swapping things out. So swap your pasta, have a look at your sauces. Like we had bolognese yesterday, and we just had a gluten-free bolognese sauce. Some of the bologneses, by the way, don't put gluten in. That's only in the last 2 years they've taken gluten out. But it's just about looking and being a bit more mindful of what you're eating and turning the packets around. We do it for calories, don't we, as women, and like proteins and fats if you're tracking all of that, but we don't often look at the ingredients. It's really key to do that as well. So what you don't want to do, especially when you're going through the menopause, is cut any food groups out, because you need your carbohydrates for your brain function. We just want to make sure it's good, clean carbohydrates. So having sweet potatoes instead of normal potatoes, for example, maybe try quinoa and other kind of rices, like try flavored rices instead of going for like the heavy chips. And you'll soon see a massive difference in your bloating as well. Even switching up your snacks like oat cakes, having those, they're gluten-free, they're fantastic with some nut butter. I have hummus and cucumber on mine in the morning. I love it. So looking in the free from, like the gluten-free section, is sometimes a bit daunting, because you think, oh God, I've got all these biscuits and crisps and things that I love. Actually, as soon as you start taking gluten out, you'll stop even craving the gluten-free version. You'll stop wanting all of those things, because you'll stop snacking so much. Because when your gut is in a really good balance, I know you guys aren't diabetic, but when I talk to diabetics, we have to talk to them about their blood sugar levels. So when you're eating really high starchy carbohydrate to potatoes or cereal or toast, it's going to do this. It's going to spike your blood sugar really high. What happens when you spike high is if you spike too high, is you drop low. And when you're in these spike and drop zones, your body again is in storing fat, it's in stress mode. So you want to have this equilibrium. You want to feel like you're not starving, you're hungry when you get to your meal times, and have a snack if you feel hungry, or have some water. Sometimes it's your brain saying you need water. But then after a while, actually, it starts to even out and you don't get hungry in between those times. So just one thing I want to talk to you about as well is fizz sticks and energy. I literally don't know how any woman goes their whole life without talking about these. I post about these every day on my socials, and that's because I'm obsessed with them. So I personally, if I have coffee, I love drinking coffee, but it makes me really, really tired afterwards. I'm like constantly trying to get that high. So the fizz sticks that I use have got green tea, ginseng, and guarana, ginseng and green tea, and B12 in them, which B12 is fantastic for you guys, because we're needing that extra B12, especially when we go through menopause as well. So you're hitting a natural high with this. Now, I cannot stand green tea. It does not taste anything like green tea. Well, Sarah, you've had them. You can say it tastes quite sweet, doesn't it? So it's a nice way to get your...
I actually add mine to a green tea.
Yeah, that's what I do. You can add it in.
Yeah, and it tastes a bit like a lemsip. It's really strange, but it's like it's not horrible. It's really nice.
Yeah, it's really nice. It's really sweet. But there's different flavors. There's like strawberry, citrus. I think there's mango. I like pomegranate because I've got quite a sweet tooth. I really like that. But instead of that kind of hit you get with coffee, you've got this really nice, gentle, like, oh, I'm awake and I feel really calm. And that's the ginseng in there as well. That's lovely. So the probiotics that we use on the plan, that's great because that helps to clear out the gut. And then I mix that with my vegan protein shake in the morning. So I have that after I've fasted. If you're exercising a lot, you'd love that one as well. But the great thing about the enzymes and the probiotics is most traditional probiotics and prebiotics are getting eaten up by the stomach juices. So this one, I've got 4 nutritionists that I work with in my team and 2 doctors who just rave about these products on their socials as well. So definitely follow them. They talk about them on they're much more entertaining than I am to talk about gut health, but they talk about, what is it, Xavier did one yesterday talking about Pac-Man going through the gut. It was such a good analogy. So thinking about like the Pac-Man going through your tummy and eating up all those nasties, which is just fab, just really, really good. And that's, sometimes people get a bit like, oh, should I be taking supplements? Should I not be taking supplements? I honestly think in this day and age, there was a study recently that was done that we now need not 5 fruit and veg a day, we need 14. And that's because the quality of the soil is no longer as healthy as it used to be. Pesticides used on, products to keep them on the shelves for longer. That's a whole nother chat we're not going to go into tonight. But, really looking at supplements alongside healthy eating, alongside healthy exercise. And, we give our car a good MOT and a couple of services a year. This is like giving your body a good MOT and a regular service. So start cleansing your body from the inside, doing that maintenance every day to look at your gut, and you will start to see, by removing those allergenic foods for 30 days, you're going to start to see your serotonin kick in. You're going to feel healthy. You're going to have a happy tummy, happy yummy ladies on here, and you're just going to feel great about yourself. That's one thing I just love being able to give to women as well. So I'm not going to take up any more. I think I've been chatting for like half an hour. I could literally talk to you guys all night. But I've got some incredible videos about this that give it all in more detail, with little diagrams of the gluten intolerance. So I'll pass them to Sarah so she can send them on to you ladies as well, so you can have a look at those. But feel free to get in touch, add me on socials if you want to ask me any questions in your own time, or anything comes up after tonight, then just ask away. I'm here to help you guys. So yeah.
The one, can I just say, Rebecca, you said about your the protein, the vegan protein.
Yeah.
Now, I previously have tried vegan protein elsewhere and it's been disgusting. And I actually really like that vegan protein. And I know that for women, we need additional protein in our diets to help keep our muscle mass, because once we lose our muscles, then it affects our bone density. And quite often it's difficult to get enough protein into your diet, because we're not all eating chickens every day, are we? Especially if you're veggie, or if you are, you do follow a plant-based diet, it's quite difficult. So, for like that, just supplementing itself is really helpful for me.
Yeah,
just
I'm glad you mentioned that. I completely forgot to talk about the protein, so thanks for bringing that up. I don't know why I forgot. That's one of my favorite products, but you're right, and that's got B12 in it as well. But you've got 20 grams of vegan protein. So most shakes or any protein that you used before will contain soya and whey, and that's whey is just the offcuts of cheese, like the crappy stuff they scrape off the top, and they bulk it into like protein shakes as an additive. And a lot of packaged food as well, like packet food does that as well, like the rip-off kind of microwavable quick, I don't eat these, but like noodles like often go, they've got the whey in as well. So you have to be really mindful of that, because it really messes with your tummy. But yeah, they're really clean taste. They honestly taste like you're having something naughty. You're like, surely this isn't healthy. This tastes like a naughty. They do it in other flavors, but I love the chocolate one. Yeah, it's a good one to have.
When you were saying about the dairy earlier, and with leaky gut and everything else as well, that was one thing that one of the reasons why I decided to take dairy out of my diet was because of my psoriasis.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, because obviously, and I have like puffy eyes under here, but I think that some of that is herniated fat pads, but also some of it, if I've been eating a lot of like white bread, say, that's like high in gluten, and then which I don't, because then my stomach swells that much that I actually feel like I'm about to give birth, and I know I'm too old to be able to do that. But it becomes really, really painful, and I'm like, I'm not doing that again. You know, sometimes, particularly over Christmas, you know, when somebody's laying out some buffet for you and you're just like eating anything that's in front of you.
I know,
and
it's
then
so
afterwards you massively regret it. And then it affects your mood as well, I think. Like you say, you know, you then feel tired, you then feel sluggish, you then feel annoyed with yourself as well for eating all the rubbish. And it's just like this, you know, and it's a bit of a downward spiral, really, when we can actually do things that benefit us. Yes, we can, you know, have HRT or whatever we choose to have, but there is also a responsibility that we have to take care of our body. Otherwise, our body won't take care of us.
Yeah, so
you know, and going forward as we age, you know, we live in a society now where, you know, I'm 55, and at 55, I'm doing the same things that my 24-year-old daughter's doing. There's no longer that big divide in ages anymore, like there was, you know, when, like, my mum was my age. She was a lot older. I hope she don't listen to this. But she, you know, she was a lot older, whereas we're not, and we want to keep up with our life because it's fun. Yeah. And that can be quite like disheartening as well, you know, when we feel tired, when we feel down, and we do suffer with mood swings, you know, in menopause, because our hormones fluctuate regardless of what we're having that will help us. And so, you know, like you say, actually taking care of our gut is so important. Also for the future as well, with things like, you know, bowel issues and that. When we get older, you know, we have enough vaginal issues. We don't want bowel issues as well, really. And so I think it's really important, you know, to take care of that so that we don't have those kind of problems. And you know,
I just want to add there, it's really interesting what you just reminded me of something as well, is when people do like the gluten-free, especially gluten-free, and then you go back to eating it, it can make you feel really more bloated. So actually it's almost like a deterrent. So when you go to those parties, you're like, oh, I don't want to feel like that tomorrow. I'm not going to eat it. Actually, your gut becomes so clean, it's just like, no, I'm not having this. It almost like rejects it. So actually it becomes easy to stay off it, and you don't want to have it. And it's, guys, it's not, some of you might be like, go back on it, you're like, actually doesn't have any effect on my health at all. But all I would say is just try it, because if you've got any of the symptoms we talked about tonight, you're going to see such a difference in your energy, your mood, your confidence. Like, that's the main thing that you're for. It's just to feel better every day as well, not feel down.
Yeah. Has anybody got any questions they want to ask Rebecca? Do you want to, shall I switch you all on?
You can ask away.
That's why
I always say, if you want to ask me privately off here, then
yeah,